Warning for black travelers. This might shock you. Some places in America still feel like they're stuck in the past. Places where being black can feel unsafe or unwelcome. These are the top 10 whitest states in the U.S., where many black people say they feel left out, stared at, or even judged just for existing. In these states, diversity is rare. Some areas seem stuck in old ways where racism isn't always loud, but it's felt. From small towns to cold stares, the message is clear. You don't belong. But why do these states still look so white while the rest of America changes? The answer lies in history, money problems, and unfair systems that still exist today. So before you pack your bags for that cross-country trip, maybe think twice. Like, subscribe and hit the bell for more eye-opening stories from Discover the Globe. Now let's jump right in. Number 10, Iowa. Iowa looks peaceful from the outside. Endless cornfields, kind smiles, and butter sculptures that turn heads. But for many black people, living here can feel lonely, confusing, and at times, painful. Only 4% of Iowa's population is black, while 84% is white. That number alone might not shock you, but what happens because of it will. In small towns, black residents often feel more like visitors than part of the community. People stare. Some ask uncomfortable questions. Many face microaggressions, unfair treatment, or even blatant racism. It's the kind of place where you might hear, "What brings you to our town?" But feel what they really mean is, "You don't belong here." Even worse, black Iowans are 7 times more likely to be put in jail than white people. Jobs and home ownership, way harder to get if you're black. The inequality runs deep, and it hurts. Sure, cities like Des Moines and Cedar Rapids are more diverse, but step outside and you may feel like a unicorn in a cornfield. Number 9, West Virginia. Land of stunning mountains, sweet banjo music, and winding country roads. But for many black people, this beauty hides something sad, something unsettling. Only around 4% of the population is black, and the state is 92% white. That number might sound like just a statistic, but for black residents, it can feel like a warning. Imagine walking into a store and being the only black face in sight. People stare, some whisper. Others act distant or cold. In many small towns, the message is clear. You're not really welcome here. And it's not just a feeling. Racial bias, tension, and even hostility still live in these quiet mountain towns. West Virginia's past includes segregation, and today, things haven't fully changed. Black people here still face discrimination, fewer job chances, lower wages, and tough times starting businesses. In some places, it's like time stopped in the 1950s. Charleston and Morgantown are a bit better. But head into the hills and you may feel like you don't belong. Number 8, New Hampshire. A place with mountains, fall leaves, and the proud motto, "Live free or die." But if you're black, it can sometimes feel like the people would rather you just choose the second part. With over 90% of the population being white and only 2% black, diversity here is almost invisible. It's the kind of place where you can go days or even weeks without seeing another black face, unless it's your own reflection in a store window while a suspicious cashier watches your every move. Sure, the state is peaceful, scenic, and famous for its early presidential primaries, but for many black visitors or new residents, that peace comes with stares, whispers, and cold shoulders. And in the rural towns, it's worse. Reports of racial slurs, harassment, and even hate crimes have shaken the silence. Hate crimes jumped 38% in recent years, and many were racially motivated. Some towns like Manchester or Nashua offer a little hope. But much of the state can feel cold, not just in weather, but in spirit. Number 7, Vermont. Welcome to Vermont, a state full of maple syrup, snowy winters, and kind faces. But if you're black, things might feel very different. With 93% of the population being white and only about 1% black residents, Vermont isn't just lacking in diversity, it's nearly invisible. If you've ever wanted to know what it feels like to be the only one in the room, Vermont gives you that feeling, all the time. Imagine walking into a store and everyone turns to look at you. Not with smiles, but with confusion. And someone always ends up asking, "So, what brings you here?" Even though Vermont likes to call itself open-minded and progressive, the truth hurts. Many black people feel left out. In 2018, Kaya Morris, the state's only black female lawmaker, quit after receiving racial threats. That says a lot. Vermont isn't openly mean. No torchies, no chases. But the cold isn't just outside, it's in the way people treat you differently without even realizing it. Jobs, housing, friendships, it can all feel just out of reach. So if you're black and thinking about Vermont, come for the mountains, but know the loneliness might follow you. Number 6, Maine. Welcome to Maine, a place known for Stephen King stories, lobster traps, and wild moose, but if you're black, it might feel more like a lonely novel than a cozy hometown. Maine is 94% white and only about 2% black. That means if you're black, you might go days without seeing another face like yours. Some towns feel so uniform that the only difference in color might be the shade of someone's jacket. In fact, finding a barber who knows how to do a fade might be harder than finding a Dunkin' Donuts with bad coffee. Now, don't get it wrong. People in Maine aren't usually rude, but they can be distant. You might get polite smiles, but also strange stares. Awkward questions like, "Where are you from?" And the uncomfortable feeling of being the only one. In small towns, it can feel even colder. Not just from the weather, but from how some people treat you like an outsider. Reports of racism, being followed in stores, or looked at like a stranger in diners are sadly common. So if you're black and thinking about Maine, just know the seafood is great. The views are stunning. But the sense of belonging might be missing. Number 5, South Dakota. Welcome to South Dakota, a place famous for Mount Rushmore, giant bison, and wide open skies. But if you're black, the first thing you might notice is how alone you feel. Only about 2% of South Dakota's population is black. That means if you're black, you might feel like the only one for miles. With 84% of the people being white, this state is about as diverse as a plain sandwich. White bread, white mayo, and not much else. South Dakota's beauty is real. Rolling hills, peaceful nature, endless skies. But for many black visitors and residents, there's a sad truth. The welcome isn't always warm. People stare. Small talk turns into strange questions. Some describe it like walking into a family reunion where no one invited you. Racial profiling has also been reported. Imagine stopping for gas and feeling like everyone's watching you, the sheriff, the cashier, even the guy pretending to fill his tank. That's a scary, heavy feeling no one should carry. In places like Sioux Falls or Rapid City, things can feel a bit better. But out in the rural areas, it's a different story. Cold shoulders, isolation, and a sense that you just don't belong. So if you're black and thinking about South Dakota, ask yourself, are the beautiful views worth feeling like a stranger every single day? Because while the Badlands are stunning, the racial climate can be heartbreaking. Number 4, North Dakota. Welcome to North Dakota, a place where the winters are harsh, the land stretches forever, and the diversity. It's almost nowhere to be found. With 87% of people being white and only around 3% black, this state feels as racially mixed as a country music concert in a blizzard. Sure, North Dakota is known for oil fields and farming, but if you're black and thinking of moving here, be prepared, it might be lonely. In cities like Fargo or Bismarck, you might find small pockets of diversity. But once you step outside, it can feel like you're the only drop of color in a snowstorm. In fact, some black residents talk about giving each other a silent nod, a way of saying, "I see you, hang in there." And the small towns? They can feel cold, not just from the weather, but from the unspoken looks and the "why are you here" energy. You won't always face open racism, but you'll feel like an outsider, watched, questioned, and never quite accepted. Black workers have shared stories of racism in jobs like farming and oil. Black students in colleges here say they've been left out or even bullied. And yes, people might still ask things like, "Where are you really from?" or even, "Can I touch your hair?" If you're black and dreaming of a welcoming community, North Dakota might feel even colder than its minus 30-degree Fahrenheit winters. So ask yourself, do I love quiet towns and freezing temps enough to feel like the only black character in a Western movie? Because in some places here, that's exactly what it feels like. Number 3, Idaho. The land of potatoes, tall mountains, and almost no black people. With 89% of the population being white and just about 1% black, Idaho feels more like a snowy postcard than a place of cultural mix. In fact, it's said you could probably fit every black person in the state into a single coffee shop in Boise and still have room for lattes. But behind the beautiful mountains and peaceful views, there's a sad and uncomfortable truth. Idaho has a dark past. It was once a safe place for white supremacist groups like the Aryan Nations. And even though those groups are mostly gone, that feeling of you don't belong here still lingers in some towns. For black folks living here, it's not just hard to find a good barber or black hair salon, it's hard to feel seen or included. People might stare like you're wearing flip-flops in a snowstorm, confused, shocked, or even uncomfortable. And racism, it still happens. From strange looks at stores to nasty slurs in the street, even in cities like Boise. And if you're driving through some rural areas, be careful. Some towns were once sundown towns, where black people weren't safe after dark. And though times have changed, attitudes haven't always caught up. Yes, Idaho has fresh air, quiet places, and amazing views. But for many black people, it can feel like being the only one in the room all the time. Lonely, isolated, invisible. So before you pack your bags for this picture-perfect state, ask yourself, can I handle feeling like a stranger in a place that still struggles to accept difference? Because in Idaho, racial diversity isn't just rare, it's nearly invisible. Number 2, Wyoming. Welcome to Wyoming, the least populated state in America where cowboys are still a big deal and the black population is almost invisible. With 91% of the people being white and just around 1% black, Wyoming isn't just lacking diversity, it feels like it's allergic to it. Now, don't get me wrong, Wyoming isn't openly hostile. It's not like the old days, but if you're black and decide to call this place home, you'll stand out. Whether you're at the grocery store, the gas station, or just eating at a diner, expect curious stares and awkward looks. For many small-town Wyoming folks, you might be the first black person they've ever seen in real life. Wyoming is very conservative, which can be great if you like freedom, wide open spaces, and no traffic. But if you're looking for a community that gets you, you're out of luck. There are almost no black neighborhoods, black businesses, or places where you won't feel like an outsider. In smaller towns, things get worse. There are stories of discrimination and people being treated unfairly at work, racial profiling, and feeling unwelcome. It's like being an exotic animal. At the zoo stared at, asked weird questions, and given unsolicited opinions. Sure, some locals are friendly, but many aren't interested in change. Wyoming might have amazing views, hiking, and affordable living, but for black folks, it can feel isolating. So if you're moving here, just know finding a barber, a soul food restaurant, or a community that understands you will be nearly impossible. Number 1, Montana. Here we are in Montana, the whitest state in the US, where black people aren't exactly welcomed with open arms. With 88% of the population being white and only 5% black, you'd have better luck spotting a grizzly bear in downtown Billings than finding another black person. Montana is famous for its beautiful landscapes, wide open spaces, and cowboy culture, but let's face it, it's also known for having one of the highest rates of hate group activity in the country. Some parts of this state aren't just lacking diversity, they actively try to keep it that way. If you're black and thinking of moving here, you might end up being the only black person in your town, neighborhood, or workplace. Reports of racial hostility and white nationalist groups in places like Kalispell and Whitefish make it clear that some people don't want to see change. In smaller towns, you'll feel like an outsider, a social island with no one to connect to. Montana is stunningly beautiful, but if you want to feel welcomed, and not like a guest at an all-white dinner, it's probably not the place for you. Discrimination, cold stares, and racial profiling are real. And as a black person, it can be a lonely and difficult experience.